Behind me here is one of the most interesting new launches of the Cannes 2025 show. This is the new Bluegame BGF45, and it has a very unusual hull design, a really interesting layout, and a special secret up its sleeve. So let's get cracking and have a look. My name is Hugo Andreae, you're watching Motorboat and Yachting. Let's go and tour it. Let's have a quick look at that hull design then. Now you can see very clearly that it is a catamaran design, but Bluegame don't like to refer to it as a powercat because they reckon it's a much more interesting shape than that. By keeping it narrower than a conventional catamaran, it has the proportions of a monohull, but it has the stability, the sea handling characteristics, and crucially the efficiency of a catamaran. And that is where the secret comes in, because as well as having two relatively slender entry points and that third extra little mini bridge deck, if you like, that helps cut any waves that passes between the hulls, it has an extra secret in the form of a foil. Now that foil is currently underwater, so you can't see it, and it's not designed to lift the whole boat completely clear of the water, but what it does do is raise it up by about 30 centimeters, and that's enough to have two major consequences. The first is that it greatly reduces the wetted surface area so that it runs more efficiently, uses less fuel, and goes faster. And the other is that it lifts it clear of an awful lot of the movement of the waves. So rather than splitting the waves or bouncing over them, they describe it as just kissing the surface. So it should make for a softer ride as well. Now it is powered by twin IPS 650s, and that give it a top speed of around 38 knots. But as well as that extra speed, it will cruise very, very comfortably at 30 knots, and crucially, it will only burn around 130 litres per hour at that speed. Now, the price for this is pretty strong. It is just over 2 million euros ex taxes, but then rather than thinking of it as a 45-foot boat, it's more like an equivalent of something like a 55-foot monohull sports cruiser. So let's take a closer look on board and see if it delivers the space as well as the performance. Now, one of the first things to point out is this transformer platform. Now you can see just how far that extends out from the back of the yacht. That is capable of carrying about 200 kilograms, so you won't get a full Williams jet tender, but it can obviously lift a lighter tender, whether that's a carbon fiber one or an inflatable one. But look how far it comes out. And of course it will sink right down into the water and create this lovely platform down into the sea with those teak steps running down to it. But it'll also lift up and over and tuck very, very neatly, flush fitting along that aft platform there. So very clever piece of design. It provides a lot of flexibility. Quite nice to see there's a little boarding handle there just to ease your way on. And then you really get a feel for this beam. So even though it's relatively narrow by catamaran standards, it's still a very wide beam design compared to any kind of conventional monohull of this length. First up, you can see that lovely wide sunbed there. It's divided into 3 separate mattresses, but you can easily lie 4 or 5 people on there. You've got access to the engines down here. We'll take a closer look at that at the end of the tour, but good to see that there is this little walk around so you can make your way along there, whatever this platform here is doing. So I'm just going to jump up on board there. Here you can see we've got controls for the lights and that transformer platform. We've also got little side lockers. One of them carries the electricity. This is the fire system. We've also got refueling down here, and look at these lovely wide teak grab rails, handrails here. You can see the way they just curve beautifully into the platform down there. Lovely design touches on board this. Bench along this side here, that is very much just part of the whole sort of sociable arrangement with the sun pad on this side. You can also use it as a second sun pad. And look at the size of this dinette area here. Amazingly, this table is actually folded in half. You can see that this will flip over and create a simply enormous table. I might just see if I can do that for you. It's a little bit hard to do one-handed. Oh, sorry. Could I pass you that very briefly? But just look at the size of this table. When you fold it out, it is absolutely enormous. It creates enough dining space. You could easily fit 10 around there if you wanted to, but just look at the scale of that. Love it. Just going to put that back so that it's not in the way of any other visitors who want to come and have a look. But I just wanted to show you the full scale of that. And then this leads through into the cockpit area and the helm. Enormous wet bar area along here. Again, we've got a lovely teak top to that. That will fold across. We've got an induction hob here, big sink here, cutting surface down there. What's under here? No, it's just a surface. Yeah. We've got fridge under here, ice maker, and bin and storage. This is very much a day weekender style boat, so it's all about having a load of guests on board during the day, but still enough space for a couple or two to sleep on board. Helm station itself, very impressive, pure carbon fibre, wraparound bench seat, and that is the real deal. You can feel how light and stiff that is. Now, Bluegame's very much a driver-focused boat. You can see we've got a wraparound windscreen running right around here. This section here is zip-in, sort of plastic, clear through, see-through plastic, but that will all zip out if you want to get the full flow of air. You can see there's also zip-in sections that will go all the way around there. Now, because it is a multi-hull design, there is no need for bow thrusters. You've got the IPS drives, you've got a joystick, so you can control it all from there, or just the twin throttles. But because the engines are spaced so far apart, you've got a really good turning point on there. Typical Bluegame style wheel, thin spokes, quite sort of pragmatic design rather than over the top sporty. It's all about serious seakeeping. So extra switches for key things down here. We've got the anchor lights and navigation lights, all of those bits and pieces. Fusion sound system, VHF control system, and this built in, it looks like it's a tray, but it is in fact secured to that deck there, and is just for putting bits and pieces like sunglasses and so on. One other little thing I thought I'd show you at the helm, there is a rather neat little phone holder that slots in there. Oh, my phone is slightly too fat with the case on board, but you get the idea, the phone will just slot into there. Now, downstairs we have got two cabins. We've got the master cabin forward, so let's go down and take a look at that straight away. If we come down here, now how cool is this? So it has the bed laid out across the beam of the boat, and this is that dip between the hulls that you can see. It just creates enough height above the bed to have the bed lying across the beam, so you've got all this extra space. It's quite an unusual design actually. The bed you can see is actually inset into this sort of surface here, so I'm not sure if that is real carbon fibre. It looks like it could be, but it's a sort of solid black GRP frame for the bed, and then the mattress is set into that in a little well. The other thing I really like about this is that they've left some of the structure of the boat on show. If you look at the deck head here, you can see some of these reinforcing cross beams that help create that really rigid but also light design. And in order for that foil to work, you need the boat to be light as well as stiff and strong. Dark wood grain floor, big step up because it is quite high, this bed. It's about waist height. And all along here we have storage. And again, you can see this light theme, this honeycomb design is very much, looks a little bit like it's a sort of chassis for a Formula One car or something. It's actually a sort of honeycomb sandwich between glass or plexiglass of some kind. But again, it's sort of light but stiff and has that very technical looking edge to it. Really like that. Full hanging locker there, and you can see lockers all the way along there. I'm not going to open them all, but you get the idea. There is also a skylight above here, a little window in that hull, and that bed head is all part of that moulding. Quite an unusual design. And then if we come this way, you can see we have got access to its own ensuite bathroom. There is a doorway leading through here, and very much in that same dark wood design, almost sort of smoked ebony style wood, black basin, smoked sort of chrome tap furniture, full carbon fibre heads. Love that, that is the real deal. And again, it's weird how light it feels, but it is a proper, not the bowl itself, but the seat and everything else is genuine carbon fibre. Little window in here, step-in shower compartment. It's very much a weekender rather than a cruising boat, but it's nice to see that you have got the facility to stay on board overnight. Coming back this way, there's a second cabin for guests. And if we drop down in here, we can take a look. Similar kind of layout, but it's reversed. So this time we're going back towards the stern of the boat, and there is a smaller berth in here. This one is very low level. This is below knee height. You can see it's literally just probably 1.5 feet off the floor. Decent size mattress. Certainly sitting headroom in bed, but not standing. It drops down just at this level here, and you've got more of that sort of honeycomb effect storage along the side there. You've also got storage behind here, and access to what is either an ensuite bathroom or the day heads, because you can come straight down the steps and go into the day heads if you want. Very similar design. We've got that same carbon fibre toilet, separate shower compartment, and a sink over here. But let's carry on a little bit and take a look at the decks too. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out about these cabins is that because they are essentially overnighters on a day boat, we've got these roller shutters that come across here. I won't do it the whole way, but you get the idea. The roller shutters slide down and lock into position so you can leave the boat open but still secure the two cabins. Now let's have a little look up on the decks. We can see we've got steps up on this side, two quite big steps to be honest, and overhead it's worth pointing out that there is a sun awning that you can erect over this cockpit area to provide a bit of extra shelter. Now all of these guardrails, and in fact they're wires, they're like sort of carbon fibre coloured wires. These are all demountable, so you can take the whole lot off or you can leave them in place. You can see they literally just plug into the deck here to provide a bit of extra security. But nice to see when you are stepping up, there is a grab rail here as you make your way up. We've also got grab rails on top of this hard top to secure you as you move your way along, and then the reassurance of these guardrails here. Pop-up cleats, both sides, lovely black pop-up cleats, little water filler, and then a foredeck area up here. You can see there is triple sun pads, and what I quite like about this is it feels safe enough coming up here because you've got these guardrails, but then you can either leave it open as they have here or enclose it fully and wrap it all the way around so you are fully protected. But it's rather nice the way when you step down here that you have got an open bow. The only thing I did want to point out is this slightly hazardous sort of curved shape. Rather than putting a step there, they've done it as a little curved piece of wood veneer, which looks a little bit dangerous. If you accidentally trod on that, your foot would sort of slide down it. But I love the fact that when you're sitting on the bow here, you have an unencumbered view directly over it into the water. But there's little pop-in points. If you want to put guardrails around here, you can do that too. Storage lockers on either side, an anchor locker in here. If I probably just lift that up, take a quick peek, you can see it's got one of those special swivels that make sure the anchor comes up straight and hangs between those two hulls. You can carry on this way round. It's much the same. The only difference is that there aren't steps down. So I'm going to go back the other way to show you what happens at the stern there. Because once you're back in the cockpit, there is actually access to what is either a crew cabin or a really big storage area. If I just have a quick peek up here, you can look down. It is quite a steep vertical ladder leading down there, but either it's a really useful storage area for toys and cushions and covers and things, or you can fit it out as a crew cabin if you really want a professional skipper on board. Seems unlikely on a boat of this size, but good to know that you have that option. Now, if we just crawl back round, We've also got storage under the floor here, including an extra refrigerated area. This is a big extra fridge locker, so if you want to take more goods with you rather than just what's in the wet bar there, you have got more storage potential. And then if we make our way back to this section here, there is a really big storage locker. And I might just see if we can lift that up. So this whole sunbed and a chunk of the deck lifts up to reveal another simply enormous storage locker. Now, this can either be used to store an inflatable tender if you want to tuck it away out of sight, or in this case, as you can see, there is masses of space for storage kit, for stand-up paddle boards, toys, whatever you want to take with you, but really handy to have a single enormous space that you can fill however you want to. Access to the two engine bays are on either side. Obviously that's because rather than a single conjoined engine room, you have two separate ones, one in each hull. So you can see one over there, one down here. There's a ladder that drops down into them. Interesting to note here too, you can see you've got carbon fibre, even in the sort of hidden places like this locker lid. You can get right down in there, and there is that IPS 650 engine. Now, plenty of space all around it, and if I just drop down onto that level there and spin round, you can actually see there is the pod drive system. So rather than having a shaft connecting it, it is connected directly to the engine. That is the pod drive. It's one of these forward-facing ones, so the propellers are facing this way, twin counter-rotating propellers, but crucially, that whole leg will swing round and vector the steering. Makes it much easier to park because the computer can do it all through the joystick. It'll work out whether it's in forward or astern, what angle to position each of the two drives, and enable the whole boat either to spin on the spot, move sideways, forwards, backwards, whatever you want to do. We've also got a Fisher Panda generator in there and really good sound deadening overhead. So hopefully it should be quite a quiet yacht underway as well as a very comfortable one. Well, this is an exciting moment. We've got a chance to test the brand new Bluegame BGF45 out at sea to see just how effective that foil is, certainly in terms of speed and efficiency. But the first thing I've noticed is just how well that IPS system is working. You can see we are moving pretty much sideways to get out of the slot. We've literally just had to come directly sideways to avoid this particular pontoon here, and just using that joystick, we've gone completely sideways and are now pulling out nice and gently behind all the other boats. So this is the first chance to drive the BGF. We've had a little bit of a play, so I've seen how it behaves a bit, but it's still very exciting to see how that foil affects the driving, see if you can notice the difference in terms of lift and efficiency, and particularly in terms of ride quality. So let's have a go, see what happens. We've got twin IPS 650 drives. It's around about 480 horsepower each. So should be enough power. It's a relatively light boat. It's been kept nice and light so the foil has maximum effect. But let's put some throttle on. We've got synced engines. So as always, these engines take a little bit of time to get going. Wait for the turbo to kick in. Around about 2,000 RPM. There you can really feel it coming on now. So what's notable is just how stable it feels. Because of those twin hulls, you immediately feel there's a greater stability and a nice soft ride. We've got a little bit of different mixed chop, but so far it feels very stable, very comfortable. Let's pick the speed up a bit. So it's 2,000, well, about 3,000 RPM. We're doing almost exactly 25 knots and burning 118 litres per hour. And again, feels really comfortable at the moment. It's not immediately obvious that this is a foiling boat, but it does feel just a little bit softer, and it certainly seems to be cutting through the waves and over them very neatly. They talk about it kissing the waves. Doesn't quite feel like that at this speed, but now we're getting lumpier conditions. I'm going to pick it up to 30 knots, and at 30 knots we're doing 3,300 RPM and 130 litres per hour, which is pretty impressive for a boat of this size, particularly given the beam of it. Let's try a bit of a turn at speed. We're going to go over to starboard. Everything looks clear. Let's bring it over. That's a really nice sharp turn, in fact. Often you find with a catamaran, if it does work well, the sides dig in and give you a really good track. And it definitely feels like that. It's almost more like an ice skate than wheels, if you like. There's no slide at all. It tracks around very quickly. Just a little bit of lean, exactly the kind of lean you'd want on it. Let's straighten it up. Try the same to port. Make sure it behaves in the same way. Absolutely does. And for a boat of this size, it really does go quickly. You can actually feel the lateral G-force pushing us sideways a bit. Let's straighten it up and give a bit of full speed. See how quickly it'll go. So here we go. We're really beginning to tonk on now. 3,700 RPM, 36.6 knots. Wow, that's impressive. 37 knots. Whoi! That's a big old swell, but that's impressive that it took it without really banging, because you've got twin hulls rather than one big beamy one. It did cut nicely through that. So what's good to see is that even in the rougher stuff, it behaves remarkably well. Let's just bring it across a little bit. There's a bit of a big swell here. I'm going to slow down for this one. So this is another really good test, because when you've got a big deep hull in between, sometimes you get an impact from the bigger waves, but that hasn't happened with this boat. So it's good to see that even when you tackle the bigger stuff, you don't get any impact from that bridge deck. But let's just pick it up once again. Really feel the effect of that foil. Nice flatter stretch here. Now we're picking up speed. 36. Flat out. 36.5 knots, 37 knots, 195 litres per hour. But that feels really good. This is where it starts to, as they say, kiss the waves. We're just skimming over the top, flat out. Feels really good. And even at this speed, we can turn nice and steadily. Whee! Okay. So, I think what we have proved is that this is a genuine sports cruiser. It may be a multi-hull, it may have a foil, but it's properly quick. It's impressively efficient, and even in the bigger stuff, it will cope with it. So really fascinating to see how that behaves. You wouldn't necessarily know that it's got a foil unless you look at the speed and the efficiency, and that really tells a story of its own. Fascinating to drive. So there you go, that is the new Bluegame BGF45. Really interesting boat with some clever technological ideas, some high-tech build, and some really interesting features. Now, does that work for you? Is that enough to justify that €2 million price premium? Or do you think it's a step too far? I'd be fascinated to know. Personally, I think it's a really interesting yacht, and with any luck, we'll get a chance to sea trial it too and see just how well it performs with that clever new foil system. As always, thank you very much for watching, and please do leave your comments.